Travis King. I'm a graduate student here at Washington State University. I'm originally from Dickinson, North Dakota, and I did my undergraduate here at Washington State University in zoology, and now I've continued on into a master's and eventually a Ph.D. in natural resource sciences and wildlife ecology. And I guess just a little bit about myself. I, from a young age, have always had a passion to do research on animals, specifically field work, where I go out into the woods or jungle or the mountains or wherever and study what makes the world tick, why animals are kind of doing what they do. And specifically, I actually today work with big cats. So I study Canada lynx here in Washington State for my master's, and we're doing a statewide occupancy study of Canada lynx, as well as I work with neotropical wild felids in Honduras, and so that will be part of my PhD program. And so I study jaguars, cougars, and ocelots, doing a landscape genetic study across Honduras, which is a Latin American nation. I remember quite distinctly in high school, and even before that, I really knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to do field research. I wanted to be able to study these organisms as a full organism out in the woods, so ecology base or just zoology base. And so I started looking into different universities, and originally I didn't find what I was looking for in my home state of North Dakota. And so I started looking elsewhere, and I wanted not just a university that would work for me, but what would give me the most out of it. If I had to leave the state, where was going to be my best option? And so with the vet program here, there's a very large focus on organismal zoology. And along with that being a Class 1 research institute, I believed I would be able to find all the pieces that I need. And I had narrowed down my choices to Washington State University and several other universities, and I ultimately came here to visit, and I found that I had a great community here, along with a great institution, which allowed me to get involved with research at an early stage during my undergraduate career, but also had all the support network that was needed to continue my career on into this graduate work. My advisor is Dr. Daniel Thoren, who runs the Spatial Mammalogy lab here at WSU. So we have Dr. Daniel Thoren's lab does a lot of work with different animals at large scales out in their natural systems and modeling those systems. And I originally actually met him as he was a new professor here at Washington State University during my undergraduate career. And I was looking for an opportunity to create a research project so that I could continue doing what I was passionate about and am still passionate about, which is this research on big cats and apex predators in general. And so I met him, and I found out that he had very similar interests, and we began to create a relationship, exploring what would be potentially a research project. And we eventually came up with an idea to study ocelot latrine behavior in Costa Rica. And after coming up with this research project during my undergraduate career, we were able to find funding through multiple sources here at Washington State University, which allowed me to actually spend a summer in Costa Rica conducting a unique field project that I, along with Dr. Thoren and some partners in Panthera, which is an organization that does international big cat research, were able to come up with, and we actually are publishing currently on that work. And then from that, and realize and that initial relationship and the work that we had done, Dr. Thoren had approached me about becoming a graduate student in his lab, as he was really beginning to expand his lab and settle in here at Washington State University. And I believe that was my best option to really continue, because not only did we have the potential to continue on with this kind of amazing work in different areas of the world on big cats, but also we worked well together. And so continuing on here in graduate school, he's been very supportive in his role of both finding these opportunities for his students, as well as kind of allowing us to push forward and come up with our own unique ideas to find these really interesting relationships in the world and at large. I am the recipient of 3 large grants, most notably the Fulbright Fellowship for U.S. students, as well as the NSF GRFP, along with another large one called the Kaplan Graduate Award, which specifically focuses on my kind of work. And I guess my biggest advice on funding and kind of the process that I went through was to, A, be persistent, because the door will be shut in your face along the way, but also that these funding sources are out there, and there's a great series of resources available to students and prospective students to be able to start going after these kinds of large grants that can fund you through your graduate career. So, for instance, the NSF GRFP, we have workshops here on campus which allow you to meet with past winners and find out really the ins and outs of what it is and how to go about approaching, applying for, and going after these in the end. And every step, every small grant that you may receive is kind of a ladder to the next funding sources available for you as well. So the words of our past distinguished scholarship person here on campus, Sarah Ann Holmes, was money in a way breeds money. And so being able to even find small funding sources and continue moving forward and using your experiences from applying but also receiving some of these kind of things can allow you to continue forward to find other sources of funding for your research at large. And these funding sources, in the end, the Fulbright and the NSF GRFP, are going to be able to help me conduct research actually for 4 years, for half a year each year in Honduras on my jaguar, cougar, and ocelot project down there. So one of the big things, and one of the things I really talked about when I was applying for funding, was I have a really great passion for international research and being able to go into these different areas of the world that there's a big need to understand better how our natural world works and create solutions with the native communities in those areas to have long-lasting conservation implications for, be it big cats or any other kind of processes that may be occurring. And so my research, both during my undergraduate and now into my graduate work, has often sent me abroad. I've traveled to Belize, working with a professor out of Virginia Tech on a jaguar research project there, Costa Rica on the ocelot latrine project that I talked about during my undergraduate, and then now on to Honduras. So you can see that there's kind of a pattern of a research, especially focusing in on Latin America, where I am I do speak Spanish. I have both during my work as well as during my personal life have had a passion to both pick up different languages, specifically Spanish in my case, but to use my experiences and my time abroad to allow me to continue going and creating an impact in these different communities down there and finding out some interesting stuff along the way. So I would say that there was a few different influences and drivers for it. And the first and foremost, I had always a passion for doing this kind of research on animals in general and being able to go out into the natural world. And I used to say as a kid that I would be happy studying anything from frogs to cats. So just any animal, I mean, nothing microscopic, no insects or things like that, but I was always happy studying vertebrate animals. And I came here to WSU with that kind of idealism in mind, that I was going to study something. I wasn't sure what it was going to be, but I was going to go and I was going to have an opportunity to study these animals out in their natural systems. And by happenstance, I was very fortunate. I wanted to get involved in undergraduate research. And so I started contacting different professors, and I actually wasn't having a lot of success at the beginning. But I had a wonderful professor by the name of Carol Nelly, who's no longer here at WSU, but was a very supportive faculty member while during her tenure. And I often talked to her after class about my passions and about why I wanted to get involved with undergraduate research and research in general. And she one day asked me how it was going. And I said, well, I've contacted X, Y, and Z professors, and I had run down the list of about 7 or 8 names. And on the very end of that list is a man by the name of Dr. Robert Wilgus here on campus, who runs the Large Carnivore Conservation Lab at WSU. And she asked me if I really wanted to get involved in that work, and I said yes. And she said, well, email him back, send the same thing, mention my name in it 11 times specifically. And so I followed her instructions exactly, and I sent an email mentioning her name 11 times, explaining I'm resending such and such email. And I was able to get an interview just to talk and see if I would be a right fit for his lab. And after discussing it, he said that, yeah, I would be great for his lab, and that if I wanted, I could do a project on cougars in the Selkirk Mountains and their impact on mountain caribou, which is the most endangered large mammal in the lower 48. And so from that, I started my career in this kind of apex predator research or big cat research. And so I did a study using old data from collared cougars to see kind of how they are interacting with mountain caribou in the Selkirk Mountains. And from that, I used that as a stepping point, along with some study abroad I had done in Costa Rica to learn Spanish. And I used those to be able to go in and get other research opportunities, first with the work in Belize on the jaguar project run by Dr. Marcella Kelly of Virginia Tech. And then I use that to create my own project in Costa Rica, and so on and so forth, until I come to today, where I'm doing my graduate work now on 2 different big cat projects. I would say that I have really 2 main ideas of where in the future I want to go, and they are both highly related to each other. So I really do have a passion for this kind of work where I can go out and I can unravel some of the mysteries of this natural world, be it the ecology of these big cats or something else at large. And so I want to really continue on through my master's and Ph.D. and on to most likely a postdoc, and either go into the realm of academia, where I can continue on the same kind of work, or with a private organization, so an NGO that might work internationally, so that I can be able to continue to go into these areas and have an impact, finding solutions to a lot of the problems that today's societies face, especially rural growing populations in these at-risk environments. So I guess my best advice that I could give in a short period of time would be that really follow your passions and see where opportunities lie. So in a way, cast your net wide and see where there are opportunities for you, be it a small project at first, or be it a lab that sounds really cool and interesting, but don't be deterred by doors closing in your face at times. Oftentimes for my projects and research, I thought I had everything together and ready and I had a plan, and something had fallen through. And so in a way, be persistent in that, following your passions and following your interests wherever they may lie. So be it you want to get involved in this kind of work, and finding that professor who might not have availability right now but might have it in the future, and finding the right funding sources so that you can continue to pursue whatever you have. So looking out there, being informed on what's available to you and what opportunities really lie in front of you. And in the end, doing what's going to make you happy and finding and creating those opportunities. Because oftentimes what I'm doing today didn't exist. It wasn't a given plan. And so looking at what you really want to do and then following it up and making it happen, be it meeting professors or finding the professor who's doing the kind of research you're interested in, but maybe not the project that you really want to do, and suggesting it to them, or talking to them about how realistic maybe something along these lines could be, and then figuring out the detail work. What's the logistics to making this opportunity happen?